Hello, everybody. This is Judy McMath with the Center for Unhindered Living. And today we're going to work on another episode of the Accu-Balancing technique. Now, if you have not seen our previous video about the Accu-Balancing technique and introduction to it, I will put the link to that introductory video down in the show notes or somewhere on the screen here it will appear. And you can go and watch that introductory video. Now, I do have a couple of sheets that you can print out to help you with the Accu-Balancing technique, and they look like this. These are on my blog, and the blog is at unhindered-living.com. You can go and print out these two sheets, which have the red dots which show where the pressure points are for the Accu-Balancing technique. So why don't you go and print those out, pause the video, come back, and then we can continue. So as we talked about in the introductory video, you can use the Accu-Balancing technique to help you with any physical or emotional issue. And I would encourage you just to go and watch that video to get the basics of why this works. So we're not going to go into why it works today. We're just going to work on an issue. If you have an issue you'd like to work on, please leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll do a video about how to use the technique with your particular issue. Today, we're just going to use the technique to get rid of a simple headache. We've all had a headache that we couldn't get rid of. We take Tylenol, we drink some water, we maybe rest in a darkened room, and we still have our headache. We can't get rid of it. And we don't know why we have it. So sometimes we have these unconscious thoughts and motivations that we are not aware of, which can affect our body and can give us all kinds of different symptoms, which is our body's way of trying to tell us that there is a disconnect, that there is a disruption in our body's energy system that we need to correct. And since you don't know which issue it is that is causing you the problem, you just try to work on the headache itself. And if you work on the headache itself, usually it will at least get better. But I would encourage you to use the technique to sit down and figure out what your issues are, and we can work on how to do that later. But today we're just going to work on how to get rid of the headache or the symptoms of the headache, which is the pain, wherever it is. So before we start to use the technique, you need to ask yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the most that you can imagine, how much pain are you in? Are you in a 5 is tolerable, but still very uncomfortable? A 10 is probably excruciating. Okay, so it's important that you rate where you think you are on that scale so that you can tell later on, you can check in with yourself and see if you've made any progress in decreasing the pain. So whatever the number is, write it down. Now, look at the page, which I hope you have printed out, that has the pressure points. Okay, so the other page has a hand, and it just has one pressure point on it, which is what we call the karate chop point, which is right here. It's this little spot halfway in between the bottom of your pinky and your wrist. So right in between, we call that karate chop point. That's what we're going to start with. Okay, now, if you have pain, you're going to construct a affirmation which states where the pain is and so forth. So if I had pain, let's say right here in the middle of my forehead, I would make an affirmation that says, even though I have this headache pain in the middle of my forehead, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Now, why do we say that? We say that because you have some unconscious reason why you're having that pain. And you don't know whether it's because you have done something that you feel guilty about, or you have a misconception that is driving your motivations. We just don't know at this point. So rather than try to figure that out right now, and we want to decrease your pain as fast as possible, we're going to say, even though I have this headache pain in the middle of my forehead, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. And we can work later on finding out what the motivation was, but right now we just want to decrease the pain. So you're going to tap on the karate chop point, and you can just do it like this, or you can do it with 2 fingers, just like this. And you want to tap over and over while saying this affirmation 3 times. Even though I have this headache pain in the middle of my forehead, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I have this headache pain in the middle of my forehead, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I have this headache pain in the middle of my forehead, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Now that's what we call the setup, okay? So after you've done the setup, then you're going to take your 2 fingers and you're going to tap on each of these spots represented by a red dot on this chart. So you always start at the top of the head, in the middle where that little red dot is on the top of the head. And we're going to tap 5 to 7 times on every one of those spots. Now, you don't have to count if you just tap it a few times. 5 to 7 is a suggestion. You can tap it more than that, it doesn't matter. But we're going to tap on each of those spots while saying a reminder phrase. And the reminder phrase is a shortened version of the affirmation. So my reminder phrase would be headache. And while you're tapping on these spots, you're going to think about what that headache pain feels like. Okay? So we're going to tap 5 to 7 times on each one of these while thinking about what that pain feels like and saying the reminder phrase. So, headache, 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 headache. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. This one is the wrist. Headache. And back to the top of the head, headache. So it's top of the head, inside eyebrow, corner of eye, under nose, chin, what we call the soft spot, or you can call it the clavicle, whatever you want to call it, under the arm, wrists, and back to the top of the head. Now, check in with yourself and see how your pain is after 1 round of this. And what number are you? Are you higher, lower, or the same? If you did 1 round and you don't have the pain anymore, you're done, okay? But let's say you did a round and your pain went from a 7 to a 4. So that's an improvement, but it's not completely gone. And your goal is to get it to 0 or 1. So if it didn't go away after that first round, we're going to do it again, but we're going to change the affirmation slightly. And we're going to say, even though I don't know what's causing this headache pain, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I don't know what's causing this headache pain, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I don't know what's causing this headache pain, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Then we're going to do 5 to 7 taps again. And we're going to say, don't know. 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 Now check in again. How's your pain now? Okay. If it's down to a 1 or a 0, then you're done. If it's still higher than you want it to be, and you're not comfortable leaving it there, we can do another round. This time we'll change the affirmation to say, you might give some thought to when the headache started. Did it start after a particular interaction with a person? Did it start after you had a bad day at work? What exactly initiated this pain? And you may not know, you may not be able to know exactly, but choose something which seems like it might have been a stressful event or something that is causing you some kind of stress. So let's say that you just got home from work and it had been a really rough day at work. So we're going to change that and say, even though I had a rough day at work today, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I had a rough day at work today, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Even though I had a rough day at work today, I thoroughly and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Now we're going to say rough day for our reminder phrase. And think about how rough your day was as you're doing this. Rough day, 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 rough day. Now check in. How do you feel? Has your pain dropped anymore? If it still hasn't dropped to where you'd like it to be, you can change the affirmation as many times as you need to until you feel better. So I would encourage you to do that. There is a longer version of this technique, which can be used if the short version doesn't work. But I've found that in almost, probably 95% of cases, the short version works. And someday we'll do a video about the longer version if somebody asks for that. But pretty much right now, the short version works for just about everything. And you can also use this to find out what some of those unconscious motivations are later on. And we'll do a video about that later. But I hope that your headache pain is better. And if you have any questions, please leave a question in the comments and we'll try to address that at a later time. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and we'll see you next time.